meeting today. I'm just going to read a script first about recording in meetings. So please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Town Council. Please note that the recording device is sensitive and the recording cannot be edited, so do not say anything you do not want recorded. If necessary, I will direct all recording in the room to be stopped, but generally I want to avoid doing that. So we will normally record everything except any item taken in closed session. Members of the public may also make their own recordings but must follow our rules for doing so, including stopping recording when requested. Whilst we do not accept anonymous speaking at the public forum, members of the public who wish to speak but do not want their name published must please indicate this before saying anything. Thank you. Okay, so to the agenda, item 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Councillor Crooks, Councillor Fox, Councillor Miller-Jones, Councillor Stinchcombe, Councillor Flower.
Thank you. Item 2, declaration of interest and request for dispensations. The members declare any interest they may have in items on the agenda and agree any dispensations to stay. Are there any? Okay, thank you. Item 3, minutes of the meeting of the Town Council held Monday the 28th of June. To confirm the minutes of the Council meeting held on the 28th of June as correct records. May I have a proposer? Councillor Manus and Councillor Hanlon, sorry. All those in favour? Thank you. Next item 4, to note progress of actions arising from the minutes not covered by this agenda. Item C, 21092, Festival of Suffolk 2022.
I emailed the Festival of Suffolk email address that's been set up and I have not had a reply, so I don't have any further information.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to go through here, please? So page 172, it's resolved. Page 173.
The disposal register will be set up, obviously, we're not disposed of anything yet, so...
Okay. Good. One page of the partnership, is there anything outstanding there?
This is an item on the
agenda
anyway. This is item 6.
Page 174, is that?
I have repeated them to Lois and she's written back, thank you all very much for thinking of her and writing a nice letter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next page.
Just do you want that one covered?
Which one's that?
That's the invitation to Andy Hunter.
Oh, yes.
So I've, because we can't use this hall in September, and I don't know whether I'll need a big room for a meeting or not in September, an alternative space is the hall at the school, and then Andy Hunter will welcome you all and have a conversation about that. So about both One Haverhill and about the Sandward Academy.
Chair, can I just ask a question on that? Will that be, the size of that hall be for 16 councillors? Because, to be honest, it's you know, having 14, we have to rely on people to apologise. It's not fair on really the people we represent. As well as the people that's got to shield as well. I'm talking about the councillors in this particular case.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the hall is bigger than this auditorium. It's unfortunate, I mean, the rake, we have a technical problem, so that's why the rake isn't further back. But on this layout, with the smaller distance, we can fit all 16 in here, so we should be able to fit all 16 in a larger room. So that would enable everyone to take part and social distance. Unfortunately, I mean, obviously, council has had the choice to meet as a full council working party and then just have everything approved by a smaller quorum, so everyone could take part, but that was voted down. So we're working with the situation presented to us. Council's done everything from meeting in Duxford to meeting on the beach, so it's everyone's trying to find spaces big enough.
Sounds like an idea. Okay, there you go. Councillor Smith?
So do you think it would be possible then to revisit that question, and or do we have? Is there a minimum amount of time we have to wait before raising the same question at council? I mean, is there a possibility we may revisit holding a large meeting in case of mining two decisions, and then meeting the following day or week to ratify it with a smaller quorum?
You under standing orders, you can have a written motion by, I think, 3 councillors, I'd have to check, who can request that a matter that's already been decided is reconsidered, and that would be presented at the September meeting. But obviously it can't be presented outside the council meeting. And things we don't know, and I think to be fair to the councillors who made that decision, they didn't know that the potential for this to drag on a bit existed, so we are where we are. But if councils wish to get together and put a written request in for such a motion, then it can go on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, the rest of page 174. The AJ Pinsby Phillips to re-walk the railway walk to check the placement suitability now that the shrubbery is regrown. So
I have to say, I don't know if that's been
I
done.
don't know. Okay. Hand that over. Councillor Davison, Councillor Stitchcombe. It's been resolved, though, is it?
Well, that was just, there's an additional £1,000 given, but to be fair, I wouldn't necessarily expect anything to have, whether you've had much chance to do anything, Councillor Davis.
Okay.
Pages 5, 6, C21 106.
Yeah, and I have responded. That was an online questionnaire. It wasn't something I had to write, so I wasn't able to share it. But basically, I reflected what you'd said about curbside collections.
Okay. Thank you. Let's just- Okay then, so to item 5, reports from district and county councillors on issues pertinent to behaviour in the public forum. So 5A, the police. So anyone to report on that? No?
That's no report.
A report from the police, okay. Next, county councillors. I did see your report.
I've got nothing
yesterday.
else to submit.
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I'm not county council, by the way, but no, I was just going to ask, has anyone heard anything from Highkey at all? Seen or heard or anything from Highkey?
No?
Chair, I did a tour of Kangle. I did note it in my report for July. So I did a tour of Kangle with Heike, going over a number of issues across the Kangle area. I'll mention and invite her to the next town council meeting.
No, but with regard to Heike, she should have turned up at a meeting the other day, and I noticed that they sent out an email to her today to say she'd accepted the meeting and not arrived at it. So I guess we ought to just check out which one's around with it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next part, please.
Just very, very briefly, Woodlands Hotel, because that's been dragging on, I don't think, but I didn't know, but apparently the thing that's holding up the sale and disposal is effectively a ransom strip along the front, that's owned by Stirling Parish Council, and the bit of land that's going up the side is actually classed as Stirling Parish Village Green, which was news to me. Never seen it used as a village green, but that's one of the things that's holding it up as a ransom strip along the front. So that was one. Did anyone want to comment on that before we move on?
I can comment on that. It's, as far as I understand, it's been known about for some time, about the ransom strip, and it wasn't really a ransom strip as such. Sturmer want basically a village green, and I understand it from the property at West Suffolk. It's been all resolved, and they're just waiting to finally deal with the company that's going to build the care home there, so they can start demolishing the building.
Well, they haven't decided whether they're going to demolish it. They're still in negotiations.
No, they're going to demolish it.
They're still running.
I've been told they're going to demolish it.
But the legal bits are the thing over that.
Yeah, I'm in constant contact with them because it goes back about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. But that was the latest update that I've got. So, and other than that, local planning that I'm dealing with, West Suffolk, that's still the local plan working group is going on. I think it's working reasonably well. I'm pleased that David and John are on it, so they've got a good voice on the local plan. Other than that, most of the other bits and pieces have been covered by everybody else in their reports. Other than dealing with individual cases with residents. So that's it from me.
Okay, Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, Councillor Mason's report, he touched on disaster Sunday, was it? Yeah, I think it was Sunday. Floods in Haverhill. And he said he's going to sort of do something about it. I think the problem is the fact that our drains blocked. I think I've seen them around my turning once in about 10 years to do the drains out, and there's a big problem as far as mud coming off the fields or even coming off the flood parks going to the drains. I noticed there was loads of stones up Camp Road, and obviously I think that must have come from people's gardens or what have you. I don't really know, but you know there is a big problem in Haverhill. It seems not only the town centre, which is obviously the valley, right in the depth of the valley, but it's also sort of around places that are hilly, you know, with the drains. Queensway, for instance, has been flooded again. Along the Queensway, people's houses have been flooded. So, you know, it's there is a problem definitely with the drains, and perhaps the pipes need changing. You know, I know it's going to be costly for Anglian Water, but I think, you know, these pipes need updating. They need bigger pipes because of global warming, etc. So I know it's going to be very costly, but there's something needs to happen in Haverhill. It's just the poor people that's been flooded. You know, there was a flood last year, and exactly the same person who had real trouble getting his house done by the insurance. I think it was done about 2 months ago, finished after last year. Tragically, it's got all flooded exactly the same again on Sunday. So there's something, you know, and it's costly, it's for the people, it's nerve-wracking, it's absolutely awful because they think every time it rains heavy now, their house is going to flood. So, yeah, something needs to be done.
Councillor Marks.
Yes, when Tim was alive, he approached the Environment Agency because the rivers are very silted up, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, they can't accommodate the water. And I wonder if we could approach the Environment Agency again because they didn't come and do it then, and we're talking 10 years ago now. So they are really badly silted up. So they're taking a lot of the riverbed, and if they were cleared properly, that would help with the water flowing away. I'm sure Tony knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, I was just going to say that really, unfortunately, we're victims of our geology and our topography. Is that basically all the hills around here are solid boulder clay. So when we get saturated, we just run straight off. Then the topography, obviously, we're in a bowl. That's how the main part of town is. You have 1 inch of rain on 1 square kilometre, that produces 25,000 cubic metres of water, 25,000 tonnes of water on 1 square kilometre. We've got one stream that runs through the bottom of that valley. It's also restricted as it goes under the embankment. There's a tunnel there which restricts flow. So you get heavy rainfall like we had on Sunday, 2 inches of rainfall. It really doesn't matter too much about drains. It just goes straight through and it's going to flood to the bottom part of the bowl. The only thing that would really help is more attenuation. These ponds that we're putting out later housing estates, if there's more of those that can actually hold water for a significant amount of time and then release it into the stream, that would make a big difference. But putting more and more faster drains into the river would just increase the height of the river, and it couldn't get through the tunnel, through the embankment. So really what we need is attenuation of ponds.
Okay, quickly, Councillor McQueen.
Yeah, I was out on Sunday. I helped a few places with sandbags and trying to divert water, but the river height was above the outlet pipes, so the drainage just couldn't cope. The water couldn't go out anymore. Once the river level dropped, the water disappeared pretty quick. So most of the drains are working. I've made a note of a few that are blocked, but it wouldn't have made any difference on Sunday.
Okay, thank you. So is there a proposal from anybody to contact the Environment Agency? You were saying, Councillor Marks?
Yeah, I mean, Tim contacted me before. I don't know if Tony agrees with me, but if we improve the bed of the river, because as Tony says, with the silt coming down, once you've reduced the depth of the river, obviously, the capacity, and then as the river rises and the drain's running into it, it's got nowhere to go. It's kind of, you've got a mass pushing against a mass. So if you increase the depth of the rivers by removing the silt that hasn't been done for years and years, then we could have some level of improvement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd like to propose from Margaret that we do actually contact the Environment Agency, the Town Council, raise our concerns with floods. It's always been a problem in Haverhill, but we just need to make sure they're on top of it and highlight actually what happened on Sunday. Within the space of an hour, it was absolute carnage. I should think they're aware of it because I looked at the river level monitoring. That was fed back to me, so they know exactly sort of what happened, but we need to sort of highlight cases of what actually happened in the town where it flooded, etc. Just make them aware of it, that it's unfair to chase them.
When they built Meadowlands, Tim Oxford, it was his background, like Tony said, he spent a lot of time looking at it, and that flooded Brookside House. It came halfway up their French windows and never happened before. That was after they built Meadowlands. And that's why the meadow next to us was not built on, and that was made as a water catchment area, which at the moment is pretty high, because the runoff from a new build that's higher just runs straight down into anything that's lower, and it completely flooded Brookside houses. It was terrible. So these new builds are creating something of a problem, and they disturb the way that the water runs. And I think that's why they determined that driveways were no longer allowed to have solid concrete. They've got to have permeable driveways, but I'm not sure how much that helps. Tony, do you think that's contribution? But
It's clay underneath, so that's...
Yeah, it sits on it, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I know that what the Environment Agency are really, really extremely worried about is if debris ever blocks the entrance, that tunnel underneath the embankment, because if it does, that's going to back the whole lot up to the town. I know they're extremely worried about that.
It's a step which needs clearing
Thank you.
out.
Councillor Smith, sorry. Councillor Smith.
Brown. So, is there a possibility to widen that tunnel? Is that
well, it'll be a major engineering project.
Would it be worth it?
Yeah, well, it does really need doing. Yeah.
Could,
Councillor Hanlon?
sorry, could we sort of write a letter to, to ask them if they could, because it seems by what you're saying, it's that tunnel is the problem. So could we, as a town council, write to whoever it is, it'd be the water,
It's
and
environment
water,
agency, but I think
environment.
part of what we, if we propose is to write an highlight little thing, but as part of that to say we're also concerned that tunnel is a bottleneck. I think they're fully aware of it anyway, but if they know that we know, that may spur them on to do something about it.
So I think we've got a proposal then from Councillor Marks to write a letter. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I just wonder whether, of the flood authority in Suffolk County Council, there were issues about Burton End flooding, and we mentioned Queensway. That clearly is nothing to do with the water at the Stone Ranches, which would have simply, I know there was flooding in Lidlands, but it would simply be much deeper flooding there. So the flood authority is responsible for all of the drainage and responsible for talking to the Environment Agency about that tunnel as well.
Okay, so do you think it's better to write to them rather than the environment?
But it sounds to me that there's different issues. Because actually down at Sturma, there's relatively little value stuff down there. There's not people's houses around there. There's some old warehouses very close to it. But actually, up where there were floods in people's houses, that needs attention. And we wrote to the flood authority, that would be everything. If that's okay to do that.
Okay, so proposal from Councillor Marks and seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour of writing a letter? That's unanimous. Yeah, thank you. Okay then, so that was the county councillors. Can we go to the district councillors, please? Any reports from those? Councillor Smith?
Well, I should say something, but John covers pretty much everything very well in his report. So, yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you sent a report out anyway, didn't you, Councillor Burgess? So
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so on to the next item. Members of the public, I don't think we've got any members of the public. So we'll go on then to item 6. Health matters in Haverhill. So the parties to report back on actions arising from C21 4. Invitations to Mr. David Now, GP Federation to attend the council meeting, and an invitation to Ms. Sarah Howard to attend the council meeting.
David Pinnell is currently not at work. We've been offered by the CCG to have Kate Wharton turn up and talk. So that offer is there. She is likely to be replacing Lois on One Haverhill Partnership in any case. Sarah Howard was having to isolate, so she wasn't able to come and speak tonight, certainly. But I went along to the exhibition at the Chalkston Centre and spoke to the people there who actually were consultants working for the Acute Health Trust. But they've said that they'd be happy to arrange for like Stephen Dunn to come along. So what I was going to suggest is that it's whether we want to have an entirely separate meeting or whether we invite them along to the specific council meeting in September. Clearly, if we do that, there's no wriggle room because that's when the council meeting is. But if we thought that a focus meeting on health, which we've done before, separate for council meeting, that means that we can arrange, we've got more flexibility because if it's not on a set date, which we've already set in the diary, and try and get somebody, because the GP Federation basically said they didn't have anybody, bizarre, didn't have anybody to put up instead of David Pennell, hence Kate Fortin for the CCG got put forwards, and then of course it's the future plans for services, and Stephen Dunn, who is Chief Executive of the hospital, he's leading the project team on that, and he has been going to, I know he's gone to Thetford, our doppelganger town council, so we were told that yes, he would he'd be able to come and speak to us. That's what even Gary suggested as well.
You mean Gary Norgate, then, because Gary's leading on the project?
Stephen Dunn is, I think, well,
Gary-
Stephen Dunn's told Gary to lead it. Stephen Dunn is the person
but
being
Gary,
offered.
you know, the person who you would find most useful here to talk about that would be Gary, because Gary is he's really the kind of fifth person in the project. So you might want to invite Gary, and he's very honest, open and transparent, so you'll find him very good to talk to.
So it's really what councillors want in terms of whether you'd like to have a separate meeting on health matters, which would allow us to catch up on any other issues, or whether we attempt, I can't guarantee I can get them all in the same room at the same time. And I think there may be some councillors who only joined in 2019, but those who have been on for a while or who have attended meetings will recall in the past when we've had somebody from the NHS come along, it turns out that the bit of the NHS that we want to talk about, they're not the ones we're supposed to have in the room. So on a couple of occasions we've tried to get everybody in the same room at the same time, so they can't leave it out of it by saying that's not their responsibility. So it's whether we want to do that or whether I try and probably in ones and twos, try and get them to actual council meetings.
Yeah, I'd go along with that second option, you know, where we have a separate meeting, because the fact it's so important that we should have as many and the most important people, because this has been going on for some time. Obviously, we wrote originally, didn't we, in January 2020, and obviously COVID come into it. But you know, the problem is still there. We've still got quite an amount of people per full-time GPs compared with a load of other places. So I think that we should go for the second option, and I'll propose it. Thank you, Chair. Oh, sorry. Just can we send questions to them, people, before the next meeting as well, to give them a chance so they can answer us? Would that be a good idea? Could we do that? Sorry, Chair. Thank you.
I was just going to say what Councillor Hannon said. I think a separate meeting makes more sense, because otherwise you've got an agenda to stick to and you don't give them enough time to have the discussion. So I think we need to have that discussion.
Thank you. And Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was going to second it, but I also agree with what Pat said, is let's get the questions in first, give people the opportunity to be able to answer them at their own speed.
Okay then, so we have a proposal from Councillor Hanlon for the separate meeting, and seconded by Councillor Roach. All those in favour?
I'll sort that.
Okay, thank you. 6B, future of Haverhill primary care services. So, is that everything?
No, that was a request from Councillor Hannon, or whether we've covered that in terms of having.
Yeah, that's going to be covered hopefully. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So item 7, I think this is another 6 here, but I think it's item 7.
Sorry.
Right, it's the Mayor's report, which I circulated yesterday. Hopefully you all had a chance to see it. There hasn't been a lot happened since my last report, unfortunately, because I think that there's still a bit of concern out there about COVID, and there have been a few things that have been cancelled. Hopefully, things will start coming in. I've got another few events lined up in the next few weeks, so hopefully I'll leave it for that. Number 7, One Haverhill Partnership, to receive a verbal report from members at the park on the board. meeting that took place 10th of June 2021.
I didn't update that because that's, we would
Oh,
have
sorry,
done that for last
sorry.
meeting. I don't think there's anything else to report on One Haverhill Partnership other than we're obviously going to arrange the next meeting to have the chair there.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Joe? Can I just ask a question on it? Have you sort of reported back on what we've decided as a council, who's going to sit on it and things like that? Can I ask if the Collins done that?
I haven't, but there haven't been any meetings to do that.
Oh, so you're going to do it at the actual meeting then?
Well, no, when the invites go out, they'll go out to
right.
new councillors.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so item 9, I think it is now.
Stick with the numbers on there.
Oh, we're doing the numbers on there, otherwise it get confusing. Okay, so item 8, adoption of committee reports. So item A, planning working party. To move the adoption of the minutes of the planning working party meetings and the recommendations contained therein held 29th of June and 13th of July. May I have a proposer? Councillor Hanlon, seconder. Councillor Smith. And all those in favour? Thank you. Read. Item B, Leisure and Community Working Party. To move the adoption of the minutes of the Leisure and Community Working Party and the recommendations contained therein held on the 6th of July. Councillor Burns as proposer and seconder Councillor Mason. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. I see. Okay, so we'll defer that one because we haven't got the minutes ready for the personnel working party. Next one is 8D, the finance working party. So move adoption of the minutes of the finance working party meeting and the recommendations contained therein on the 20th of July. May I have a proposal? Councillor Hanlon, seconded Councillor Brown, and all in favour? Thank you. Okay, item 9, financial matters, to authorise the following payment list. Any proposal for that? Councillor Roach, seconded Councillor Manners, and all those in favour? Thank you. 9B, grant application. So you should have received this by email, the grant application for Haverhill Football Club under 15 team. Consider a grant application for the sum of £1,104.60 for football players away kit. Colin was saying in principle, perhaps we need to decide whether we want to sponsor individual teams or, you know, so any thoughts on that, how we want to go with this? That's a ground.
Yeah, I think we'll take each application on its merit, as we normally would do with any application. This individual football team, I think, is the first one that's came to us for helping out the kit. They play under the name Haverhill Town. They're from what I gather, a good little club that we get our name out in all the surrounding towns. I think it's the under 15 team. I quite often see them playing out on Notts Field. Squadron leader Woods, who is the chairman, I mean, he's a fantastic guy. I mean, he really puts a lot of effort into the team and the club in general. And yeah, he's revamped the old changing rooms there. He's put the club name there. He's put, and the parents have put a huge amount of effort into the club, and it's a great thing to see youngsters, you know, getting out there and running around and, you know, playing and keeping fit, etc., etc. You know, I know Colin sent his email out, but to be fair, I mean, it's the first club that's come to us for kit like this. We take everything on an individual basis. You know, we wouldn't be setting a precedent, but you know, personally, I would like to help them out because I see what they do, and they're always out training and put a huge amount of effort. They're putting their name out. I personally think that they're a great little club, and I think it'd be great if the town council could help in some way.
Thank you. Did I see you, Councillor Burns?
Yeah, sorry, I understand what Councillor Brown is saying. I think the problem is, as it's for a specific away kit. We take the Rovers, virtually on the same day this grant application came in, also had the same problem, and they effectively did crowdsourcing amongst their supporters. Within about 2 hours, they raised all the money, I think the problem is that it is specifically for an away kit for a team. If it was for youth development or something like that, I would be put my hand up totally and supporting it. I think the problem is it will set a precedent if you start saying this, because every football team will say, well, I want the under-12s, I want the under-13s, or whatever it might be. And that's I have a problem with that. Councillor Barry is quite correct about what they do down at Watts Field. But I think the problem is this, and as a precedent, if they'd have worded it differently, I would have supported it. Thank you.
Councillor Mark, then.
Yes, actually we have supported Haverhill Roads, but we've done it through the community, through our locality funding, and Griffiths put £1,000 in to, I'm going to get the wrong way around, I know we always wanted it, I can't remember whether we gave it to the boys or the girls, but we did do for the same thing, £1,000.
Not for the kit though.
Pardon?
Not for the kit.
Yeah, it was for kids.
No.
We gave money, didn't we, for kids?
I've done kit for
But
rugby club.
to be honest, we've been in a terrible situation the last 18 months. This really isn't a massive sum of money. It's really going to get these young children, give them some inspiration, get them outside, which is where they should be. I'm absolutely in support of this. I think it really is quite a small amount of money, and I really support it, and I will second any proposal Jamie puts forward. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Brown and then Councillor Mason.
Yeah, I was going to say, we helped Haverhill Roads out on numerous occasions. We even bought them a coffee machine, I think it was for £67,000. We helped the gym hire, do fantastic work, £25,000 for them. So, this is just one football that's got off their backsides and come to us to ask for some support. I say we put out the Haverhill Town on their things, and they go out and they're a good team, and they're youngsters, they're doing good stuff with youngsters. So I think it's something we should we can always look at. There's no precedent in any of these applications. We look at them all the same planning applications. We look at each one individually. So I'm just saying that I think it'd be great if we could support these youngsters.
Councillor Mason.
Yeah, I was just going to pass a comment on the notion of the precedent being a problem. I think the town council being seen to support children's sports and activities and funding the kit when it's applied for. It's not like we are getting inundated with requests. I think it's a worthy group, and any future group that comes forward requesting kit, I think as a town council it sends a really positive message. We are pro-youth and we want to encourage sports development amongst the young. So I'll definitely support it.
Thank you. So I had a proposal from Councillor Marks and then seconded by Councillor McManus.
I think actually Tony proposed it, I seconded it.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry. So Councillor Brown proposed. Sorry, I apologise. And Councillor Marks seconded. Okay. So may I have a vote for approval? Yep. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so item 10, policy review. This is about the equality and diversity policy, which Colin did send on email earlier, and there was some correspondence going backwards and forwards about that as well. I think the idea is now to approve it this evening, and then it was suggested by another councillor to have a working party. Do you want to say a little bit more about that, Colin?
Yes, Councillor Stinchcombe sent through some comments regarding it. We actually need this for a grant application, so we need to have an up-to-date equality and diversity policy that's been approved by the council, so that the grant application can go in. I don't disagree with his comments. We do actually acknowledge our role of the public secretary quality duty in our recruitment that we do, and it is written in there, but it does make sense it should be in this policy. So what I'd ask is if, unless anyone finds anything actually wrong, or they disagree with anything that's written in here, that this is approved, and then the suggestion of a small working party, which is Councillor Fox's suggestion, just 2 or 3 councillors just to run through, and then we'll bring it back as an updated iteration in the autumn, so you can approve one that has had the changes that Councillor Stinchcombe is suggesting, but there's nothing actually wrong with this one as it says. Councillor Stinchcombe and Councillor Fox have both emailed to say that they were happy with that approach.
Okay, so if I have a proposer then that we adopt this evening and have a working party set up as part of that. With Margaret Moore, sorry, Councillor Marks, yeah. And seconded Councillor Burns. All those in favour? Thank you.
Any nominations for working party?
Yes. Do we have any nominations for the working party? I can nominate them, okay. So I'll nominate Councillor Fox and Councillor Stinchcombe in their absence.
We're all looking at John.
Is there anyone else
He
that
gets on everything.
would want to nominate
Not for me.
anybody?
Dominic?
No, I think it's not.
Which I wouldn't mind being involved myself.
Certainly
I'll do
don't
that.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll put myself forward as well. Can we have a vote on that, or proposer, Councillor Marks? Second person? Councillor Burns, and then if we have a vote on that. We do. Thank you. Okay then, so the next one, for item 11, there are no actions taken under delegated powers, so we move on to item 12, to receive any urgent correspondence after the agenda was published. So none received. So we now go on to the dates of the next meeting. Tuesday the 28th September, venue Samuel Ward Academy, but to be confirmed. Thank you. So now we move on to item 14, which is to exclude the press and public. Resolve that under the Public Bodies Act 1960, the public and representatives of the press and broadcast media may be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business, as publicly would be prejudicial to the public interest due to the confidential nature of the business pre-transaction contractual measures. So we'll stop the recording live stream.
Right.
Also, Councillor Proposer, you will propose that. And Councillor Smith seconded. And all those in favour? Thank you.
Right.
Then the attending working party is reverting back to you is to get a fresh mandate, because I think people on that committee would agree that the goalposts don't just move, they've kind of pogo sticks all over the place. So the original bid was by the chair of the Muslim Community Association, that he would buy the building as part of his business on their behalf, develop some of the site, and the Muslim Community Association would have the rest of the site. And after some debate, you agreed to proceed on that basis, but one of the things that we wanted to see was exactly what was the Community Association's share of the site going to look like. Things have moved quite slowly for quite a long time, but then we got a contact from the chair of the MCA saying that the association itself had now raised funds and wished to replace him with themselves, so that they bought it directly as opposed to buy it through a proxy. Their offer was significantly lower than we could justify in terms of the social benefit. The working party has met a couple of times and basically bounced the ball back into their court. And basically the final bit was an ultimatum to say that you need to raise your offer, or the recommendation would be to put the property back on the market. They did raise their offer to the threshold which was indicated. So we're now being offered 300,000 for the site to be used entirely by the Muslim Community Association for community use. I think it was 325,000, and some of it was going to be used for community use. I don't know how much of this was the negotiating style, but they are saying that they are in a position to exchange and complete as soon as the paperwork is done, which has kind of moved quite rapidly from them, first of all, kind of pleading poverty, to suddenly they've got all the money. But basically, the Tendon Working Party felt that it was something that needed to come back to full council and decide whether or not you were happy to proceed with the Muslim Community Association in their own right at 300,000, or put it back on the market. The argument for putting it back on the market is potentially, though the agents haven't agreed with this, but potentially you may be able to get more for it. But the agents are saying they're not convinced we could sell it for more money, on the basis that if developers are interested in it, or anyone who's going to do the place up, building costs inflation has outstripped house price inflation. So if you're expecting somebody who is buying this and part of their calculation is the cost of doing it up, in theory their offer should slightly go down because it's going to cost them more to do up than it's increased in value, and anything they can then sell out of it, they won't be any further ahead than they were back in January because of materials prices. So it's really down to councillors to discuss how they feel about that.
Just trying to dig this out of my memory. There was also an issue, Colin, of getting it insured. We would need to take some quite expensive security measures, I understood. And so, obviously, we don't know how long a delay would take if we put it back on the market. There would be a real cost to us. Obviously, we would be paying for the building. That would be interesting to know what that cost is. But in order to get it insured, I understood that the cost of securing the building was going to be quite significant. So maybe we should also take that into consideration. My proposal would be accept this and get on with it. But it's also quite good.
Did you want this answer? Okay. So the insurance issue is that the insurers wanted us to fit steel shutters to the outside of the building, which would cost quite a few £1,000s. So at the moment, the option we've taken, because we didn't really expect it to take this long, is that the excess in case of fire is £25,000 excess for the building.
Councillor Burns?
I have a problem primarily because as part of the working group, the money suddenly appeared out of nowhere after, it was £100 and something thousand below what we were asking, and they all of a sudden overnight managed to find that money. I was phoned this afternoon by the person trying to convince me I should be saying yes. They are paranoid, probably rightly, I don't know, that they are going to be kicked out if they don't know, and that's not the idea at all. So I did suggest to the working group that we look at whether we lease it to them on a full repairing lease. There are many benefits to that. There's one, There's many benefits to that. Is we retain the asset. We don't have to pay the insurances or anything like that. They can do basically what they like in it if we agree to it. They obviously got tenure, they can stay there, and we get any income that we decide to charge them as part of the lease. So it was just an option to do that, because their primary concern, from what I'm being told, is that they don't want to be kicked out. And that's why, you know, when they were told, I don't know, a couple of years ago, you know, you're going to sell the building, and that's it. So that's another option to consider.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I think £300,000 is within reasonable bounds of what the original offer was. We're talking within 10%. And I'm happier with the fact they will be used 100% for community use rather than part of the site leasehold for housing. We don't really need more housing. And we don't know what sort of housing will be put on there. So I think £300,000 is a good offer. I'll be happy to accept that.
Any other comments? Councillor Hanlon?
Yeah, when we put it on the market before, we didn't exactly have people rushing, did we? They were the only ones. So, yeah, I definitely agree that we should set the 300,000. I think that's the best that we could possibly get for it, and it's for community use. It's I go along with. I agree that we should sell it. Thank you.
So, proposer then to accept the, Councillor Roach?
Just one quick question for Colin. Did we, or would we in the contract have an overage clause in there? Just
Okay, so a proposer...
Sorry, can I would actually, definitely an overage has to have an overage, but I think that might need to come back to us and say, are we agreeable to whatever the overage is? Because, you know, you could just put 5% on it, and they're going to make a ton more than 5% on it if they do redevelop it. That's what you've got to remember. Behind all this is the same developer that originally put the money in and says, oh, I've got all this money. It's the same person, just they're now acting under the Muslim Association rather than that individual. So you've got to be very careful. And that's why I offered the leasehold thing, because it gives them security of tenure, and it means you don't have to make any decisions other than just doing a leasehold on it.
Okay, so we'll go for the proposal for the accepting the offer first of all. So if I have a proposal for that, I think Councillor Marks said earlier, so is that Councillor Marks and then Councillor Smith is the second. All those in favour of accepting the offer?
Yeah, it's cold.
Six. Okay, so that's... Any against? 2, 4. 4 against. So that's carried. Okay, thank you for that.
I think that was with the caveat that this comes back here from the overage, which John proposed.
Yes, we can say that. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay then, so the meeting is now closing at 7:55. Sorry, 7:55. It's not 50.